So if you were to break down the word miracle, it means extraordinary, uncommon, not regular. So when you were 5, 6, or 7 years of age, what did little Heather even dream about becoming with all that innocence?
You know what's wild is when I was a little kid, I wanted to be an actress. And I can still remember Tim. I don't know, where that dream came from or whatever calling was on my heart that I felt that that was for me. But I remember being 10 years old and in a play at school and someone saying to me, you can't do this for a living. This can't be your life. Like, no one can make it at this. And I remember accepting that as, oh, okay, thank you for telling me that. Thank you for teaching me what my limits are.
Yeah.
Cut to, now I'm 50 years old and I travel around the world to speak on stages. And it's just so interesting that you have a calling on your heart when you're young that is probably so divinely led. You just don't realize it until everyone gets you off track and you stumble and somehow get back on track, hopefully by the time you're my age.
I 100% agree. So in my research that I've done, like children 5, 6, or 7, let me tell you some of the things they think about becoming. They think about being an actor. They think about being a professional athlete of some sort. A lot of people still think about becoming superheroes because we end up becoming superheroes many times in life. It's interesting that a lot of little kids think about being veterinarians. But one of the things that you find in innocence is that kids think big, like they think it can really happen. But then they find themselves getting limited by their mentors or their tutors or coaches or their parents. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about you when you were little and having what I call a miracle mentality. Give me somebody positive that tried to stir the pot, like Heather, you really can have an amazing life.
I remember my coach in softball in high school and this massive belief that she had in me. And she would speak life into me all the time. And I forgot about it, which I think this happens for a lot of us that, so memories are so long ago that you just kind of forget about these people. And I was blessed to be hired by my high school to come back and speak for them a couple of years ago. She's still there.
Yeah.
And when I saw her, immediately she said, I always knew the greatness within you. And she started speaking this belief into me, and it triggered the memory that she always spoke to me that way. There
Yeah.
were not a lot of people that spoke with that level of confidence to me the way that she did, but she really sticks out and still a champion, still someone cheering for me. And it was such an amazing feeling to go back there and remember, wow, this was such a positive experience with someone who truly, truly believed in me.
So that's such an amazing thing because that's what you ended up doing, becoming a person that God is using literally all over the world. And we'll talk more about this in a little while. But you speak life into people. You speak encouragement into people. But what we're really doing is we're speaking reality into people because we really believe that their lives are supposed to be supernatural and extraordinary. And so I want to get into this idea of how many times we have big plans. So I talk about that there's 3 levels of living. There is utmost, which is the highest. There is most, which means there's a ceiling. And then there's almost. Almost means something almost worked. Okay? So by knowing you as a friend and reading your books and hearing you speak many, many times and just doing so phenomenal on stages, there was a time you were stuck in an almost life. Like you were almost happy, it was almost working. Give me an early time in your life where you felt like you were stuck in the almost.
So when I graduated from college, I had been bartending all through school, to pay bills and whatnot. And bartending is essentially sales, right? And so I was learning sales And I started noticing the cars people were driving. So I started asking, what do you do for a living, to give me an idea of how I could make a lot of money and be successful. And I stumbled into this idea of, becoming a salesperson in the wine business. It was a heavily male-dominated industry at the time. I was living in Boston, Massachusetts, and there were 3 women on a team of 100 men. I was one of the women, so already we were a little bit different than everybody else there. And I remember coming in really excited I wanted to, be the best that I could be. I wanted to be number one in the company, and having a lot of people talk to me about, no, you don't do it that way. No, you can't do it that way. No, you need to dial it down. A lot of the messaging that everybody hears out in the world, dim your light, be smaller. And I kept going for more. I became number one on that team. And I got so much negative feedback from people. And I remember feeling like this is not what winning is supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to feel that you're doing everything wrong and feel bad about, the people around you and the comments that they're making. And that was one of my first experiences with, when you turn your light up, there's going to be haters that are going to come. There's going to be people that don't like, that you're doing things differently. And it was one of those almost, I felt like I was almost making it, but I wasn't happy. I didn't like the environment, and it was definitely a negative environment for me, which I ultimately left.
Which is an amazing thing, and we've talked about this before just as friends, that when you have what I believe is God's favor on you, like you do, that there's always an opposition to the mission. And it's almost like the dark side will many times fill people up with negative things just to oppose you. So let's say if you have a light bulb at 100 watts, it would be so easy for some to dim it and dim themselves to 80 watts, maybe for a man they're dating, or for a friend that they need to get along with, or someone that's been jealous, okay? Has there been a temptation at time to dim your watt because you come in so bright?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So that example that I just shared, subconsciously, I'm sure, taught me on some level that if you dial yourself all the way up, you're going to offend people. So, I moved from that situation into the radio business, became an equity partner, and definitely dialed my light up again and was met with massive resistance again. So slowly I was teaching or acknowledging that people did not like when I did that. And so each time I think I would play a little bit smaller, but not noticeable even to myself. I wasn't recognizing it until I'll never forget when I was in corporate America. I was in the C-suite, a chief revenue officer in media, working side by side with another female. And that's when I started noticing that I was trying to dial myself down and dim my light, because I really wanted this other woman to like me. And I could see the tension. She didn't like me. She felt threatened by me. So I intentionally decided, okay, I'm going to try to be a smaller version of myself, which was the worst decision in the world. It's not going to benefit anybody else, not going to benefit me. It's not going to benefit anyone. And so I intentionally did that, and that brought about health issues, massive, problems going to sleep at night. I actually threw my back out, a lot of problems when I intentionally tried to dim my light.
It's amazing that even affected your sleep, your health. It's kind of like the body kept a score that you were not in alignment with what God had created you to be, and that is the 100-watt Heather.